Hello, and welcome to the show Goldsquadrongays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays break down each episode of their favorite Star Wars TV shows while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers. And Bradley, was an exciting 10 minutes between recording.
What do you mean? It's been a whole week since I've seen you.
It's been a whole week or 4 days.
Maybe.
Or 2
Possibly.
weeks. Depending on
what the release schedule is.
Release schedule. Well, I see no reason to waste any more of our listeners' time. If you are just joining us, we are currently working through the Clone Wars Genndy Tartakovsky series from 2003. We're taking it 5 chapters at a time through Volume 1, and we will reevaluate at that point how we want to do Volume 2 between when this comes out and the next Star Wars thing. If you are following along at home, we are going to be covering chapters 6 through 10 today, the back half of the first season. That would be everything from when the arena fight begins on Rattatack, all the way up to when Anakin and Asajj's starfighters go hurtling towards each other and the screen literally cuts to black. You cannot miss it. Okay. I promise you. So, Bradley, what did you think of episodes 6 through 10? I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, so I actually really like this section. I think I liked it a lot more than the first section, only because...
I wonder why.
Only because it not only does it introduce one of my favorite characters, Asajj Ventress. I think it's a combination of Asajj Ventress' storyline is beginning. We get a conclusion to the last, kind of couple chapters, essentially. Well, I put conclusion in air quotes, but the banking clan kind of story is somewhat, concluded or mostly concluded at this point. And then we're being introduced into this Asajj Ventress storyline, which is amazing because I love her so much. So I'm interested to see more of her as the show progresses, because I don't know anything that happens after chapter 10 at this point.
Yeah, we definitely are watching this week to week, and definitely
with you guys
record all of this in one sitting. That would be insane. Also, please ignore the lack of news, anything that potentially might have happened this week. So we'll just dive right in. Starts off with a bang, and the arena scene with the aliens. This is some weird, terrifying shit when you're a kid. These aliens come on and they're these massive, hulking, hairy, gross aliens that are just beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, I think this scene gave me the most Samurai Jack vibes out of the whole entire show. Because I was all the different weird characters and designs, and I was like, oh, this is so Samurai Jack right here.
This is clearly where they told him go nuts.
Yeah.
Just go wild. Do whatever you want. And they came out with some really cool stuff in the way that they fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little Aqualish guy with the spinning bow staff thing. And I love that a random Gamorrean was here. Yeah. I love these things. But we're going to talk about the droid here in a second.
Okay.
Actually, let's talk about the droid now.
Okay.
Because I don't think I noted it, but I'm pretty sure I need to note it.
What?
This show, unfortunately, yes, features an appearance by my hated enemy, the fucking flamethrower. I do not recall it being particularly effective in the sequence. However, I didn't write it down, so could be super effective. It wasn't big enough for me to note it. I do note that this sequence is metal as hell, though.
Oh yeah, it's really cool fight scenes.
Oh, awesome. It's just quick in and out. There's some awesome aliens. Dooku shows up. We will talk about who is the voice of Count Dooku.
Okay.
Here towards the end, because I read who the voice was and I went, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. But he goes in and he has that scene in the box with the cat lady from Doctor Who. And then fucking Asajj Ventress shows up, kills the cat person and dramatically leaps into the arena and is revealed for the first time. What did you think, Bradley, watching the first ever reveal of Asajj Ventress?
I knew. Well, I knew. I pretty much knew it was her anyway because I knew that we were dealing with Dooku. So I was like, okay, it's obviously her. But the fact that she not only, I'm assuming she jumps like at least 100 feet, like down into this arena. First of all, and she dramatically throws off her robe for her reveal, and she is just so iconic in just this sheer fact that she's this very stoic, bald woman basically, and she's like a fucking beast, and she fucking force runs in this goddamn episode, which I was like, oh, okay, we're bringing force running back now. That's interesting. So
she
no one can touch her.
absolutely trashes, everyone in the room.
Right.
Just wipes the floor with them.
All of them. Like she just is bam, 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 and it's so dramatic. I love, and also she fucking takes on a goddamn Wampa, I think, or
one
right?
of them was a Wampa,
right? For like no reason.
Well, she
like,
almost takes on a Wampa. The Wampa gets like knocked aside by the guy swinging the rock.
Some other big ass fucking thing.
Exactly. Imagine this, right? It's 2003.
Mm-hmm.
You are 12 years old. You have been watching Clone Wars for like a week at this point, and this fucking lady shows up. You've never seen her before. She has 2 lightsabers for some reason.
Yeah.
Wipes the floor with everybody, and then is like, I am Sith. Boom. Cut to credits.
Oh, so
That's
good.
where it ended. That's where it ended.
It's so dramatic too because she looks right in the camera and she's just like, the labels are crossed on either side of her face. Oh, so good.
And that episode aired on November 14th, 2003. The next episode was November 17th, 2003.
Oh my God, why they wait
We
so
had to
long?
wait a whole weekend. It was the weekend. We had to wait a whole weekend to find out what happened.
Right.
To Asajj after she makes this claim. So the whole weekend is like, what? She can't be Sith. There's only 2 of them. How is she Sith?
Yeah, I have questions on that once we get to the next, I think it's the next chapter they talk to Palpatine. And that's what makes it more like I was a little bit weirded out on that.
Yeah, she's like claiming to be a Sith, but she's not actually Sith. Like Dooku brings up in the next chapter, he's like, you wear the trappings of the Sith, you fight like the Sith. But then he says Sith have no fear. And I'm like, that's an interesting claim to make, Dooku.
Also, in what way is she fearful? Like, is she?
She never displays at any point that she's particularly fearful. Like, he just claims, I sense much fear in you, and then zaps her.
Yeah, because he's literally, his back is turned from her, and then she's literally like, okay, I'm gonna go fucking kill you real quick, and then he electrocutes her. But I was like, wait, how is she fearful in any way whatsoever? She literally tried to take him on, like.
Yeah, I take issue with that line, and I get it because it's very simplistic writing because they had 3-minute episodes to do this. Fear is kind of at the core of the Sith. Like, fear is kind of at the heart of what makes someone become a Sith. It's established in episode 1. They tap into their fear. They tap into their anger and hatred. I'm like, Dooku, I don't know where you get off on this whatsoever.
Oh, wait,
she wakes up.
Well, I was going to say, before she wakes up, we need to talk about Dooku.
Okay, yes, let's talk about Dooku.
Talk about his fucking entrance.
Oh, his fucking, like, cross descent, like, vampire down into the
What
arena.
in the Superman hell? He literally floats so gracefully from his thing. He literally flies.
Flies down.
Literally flies. And I'm like, so I bring this up because it reminds me of when I was reading the High Republic book. They were talking about how when you're falling, you can use the Force to make yourself as light as a feather or whatever and touch down softly, right? Like if you jump from a high place, then you can land softly. So it's like,
I'm so happy every time you reference something from Light of the Jedi. I'm like, yes.
But am I wrong though? Like, so that's interesting that they're using this stuff that like they don't really do in the movies, obviously, because it's not something that they wanted to do, or if they did, it kind of people would be like, well, if they do that, then they can do anything.
they're always like they're jumping off of high places, but Light of the Jedi is one of the first times they've explored that, like, no, actually they're using the Force to like slow their fall.
Right.
Dooku just like levitates down.
Levitates himself. He's very Magneto.
Very Magneto.
Yeah.
That one was for you, Andy. There is a character in I believe it is Into the Dark who does this, who's a Jedi. And I won't spoil the context because I'm trying to bully Bradley into reading Into the Dark here soon. But this character like quells a fight by dramatically levitating down. And it's basically the same thing. I loved when Dooku did it here. It was very much a flex. So then she wakes up. They have a fight. I don't know if it's her room or somebody else's room. He beats her, obviously. And then Sidious shows up. Can we talk about Sidious's teeth for a moment?
I'm looking at it now just to see it.
Look at his weird, wonky teeth.
Why does he have one tooth that's like weird? Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, he's got like wonky teeth, but his teeth are fine when he's Palpatine. It's a really weird animation choice.
Weird choice, yeah.
Like, dude, we all know Sidious is Palpatine. Like, we figured that out back in episode 1.
Oh my god! Now I'm looking at an even closer version. His teeth are all fucked up. Like, when it zooms in even more, like he's missing a tooth. Like, and then some of them are jagged, and then it's like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, like it's crazy. So I'm like, that always bothered me. Even as a kid, that bothered me. I was like, what is that animation choice even? Asajj has some interesting like lines here where she talks about the Jedi being corrupt and then they must be punished. And I'm like, gee, I wish this was longer than 3 minutes so we could get some explanation about what that means.
Yeah, because
like,
I thought it was
deal,
weird.
Lady?
Like, because so if what I can gather from this though is that like so from the movies or from not from the movies from the Clone Wars TV show, I always took it as Dooku was training Asajj Ventress as his apprentice because he was trying to take over and kill Palpatine. You know what they always do is they're trying to like kill each other and blah,
same
blah, blah.
Thing.
But in this, it makes it almost seem like she is like a random Sith person that shows up and they're like, well, we can just use her to just cause a lot of trouble. And she's not really his apprentice. And that's why Sidious is all like, yeah, sure, go ahead, use her. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? It seems different in this versus the movies or the other shit.
The other stuff. Yeah, it almost seems like she's kind of a secret from Sidious, but not really, because Sidious clearly knows, because Sidious orders Dooku to leave her behind.
Right, because I always thought in at least in Clone Wars, I always thought that Sidious, quote, didn't really know about her. I mean, I think he knows everything, so it's not like a surprise, but I was under the impression that he is technically not supposed to know about her, or he's not supposed to know about Grievous. He's not supposed to know, you know what I mean?
Well, in Legends, like dark Jedi and like dark acolytes and things were very much a thing and didn't count as the Sith. In fact, those red blades that she's being given, those actually belonged to a former Padawan of Dooku's named Komari Vosta, who is the antagonist of the Bounty Hunter game, which is really good.
Interesting.
Who went dark side. Also, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, and this just reminded me. So she is a replacement Asajj for a disciple, dark acolyte of Dooku named Severance Tan, who was a Chiss dark acolyte, and also one of my favorite old Legends characters when I was a kid, because I love the idea of a Chiss Sith lady.
Love that.
Jumping back on topic, interesting though that you mentioned that the relationship between Sidious and Dooku and Ventress.
Yeah.
Because Dooku's like, oh man, I don't know if she's going to be able to do it. And Sidious is like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he's like, who cares? She's a tool for us to use.
Who cares?
Like,
she's a tool.
Yeah.
For us to use. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And again,
like, the loyalty is interesting. Like right off the bat, you're just like, oh, okay, they don't care about her.
Super interesting also that episode 3 hadn't come out yet, and we didn't know what was going to happen to Dooku. Well, we jump back to Mutalist. There's a fight, Obi-Wan and Dirge. Yes, Dirge uses the flamethrower on Obi-Wan. No, it is not effective because this time, I guess, Jedi can push the fire aside super easily. Kanan Jarrus would probably disapprove of this sequence. I think he'd be a little mad that Obi-Wan is able to like force aside the fire so quickly.
I mean, sure, if you're gonna stop a flamethrower, like this was a way to do it, I guess. You know what I mean? Like stick your hand out, force stop it, and then just crush it from the distance.
But Steph brought up the point on our Mandalorian season 2 finale recap. Mm-hmm. She brought up the point, and I kind of agree with it, that the reason that Mandalorians have flamethrowers is because they'd be very effective against the Jedi. They'd be more effective than a blaster bolt because you can grab them at close range and flamethrower them, and they can't deflect that with their lightsaber.
Right.
And it's very hard to do with the Force. Here, Obi-Wan just kind of blows it aside, and I'm like,
right.
What is the point of view then?
Directs it, yeah.
The flamethrower is somehow even more useless in Legends than it is in canon. And I hate that. I truly hate that. Specific wording of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if somebody is unconditionally surrendering, you shouldn't be able to force them into an unconditional surrender. I feel like they should be able to dictate some conditions if they're surrendering. But on the other hand, the guy never actually surrenders. He basically just says, don't kill me.
Right.
I'm a banker, which saying don't kill me and then following that up with I'm a banker is not a good way to make sure that you don't get lightsabered. Just throwing that out there. I say this as a former banker. But yeah, is this a war crime?
I don't know the intricacies of war, so I don't.
Listeners, if you're familiar with the Geneva Convention, please let me know if this is a war crime. The exact phrasing of events here, because I think it might be, and I didn't have time to research it. Dirge shows up, they have a fight. I want to talk here about the sound design in this show.
Okay.
Have you noticed their use of silence and noise throughout the show?
Yeah, it's a very Samurai Jack thing to do.
Very Samurai Jack thing to do.
Very Samurai Jack.
There's silence and then noise, and then silence and then noise, and it punctuates the noise.
Yeah.
2008 Clone Wars is a very loud show. There's a lot going on in it and a lot of dialogue. This one tells a lot of story without playing any sound whatsoever.
You kind of glossed over Durg for a second there, though.
He does show up again.
Yeah. Can we explain how he shows up? Because I don't quite understand.
Yes, we can absolutely explain how he shows up. So Dirge is what's called a Genndy, and Genndy are functionally immortal. You can blow them apart and they will reconstitute, provided they are not like incinerated. They will reconstitute.
Right, because he cuts his arm off previously.
He cuts his arm off and he cuts him in half.
Right. And it just grows
and then
back.
He comes back together. And we actually see it like grow back together.
Gotcha.
And then in this one, Obi-Wan like gets bored inside of him and like busts his way out. But then you can kind of see it. Like if you look closely in the final shot of Obi-Wan, you can kind of see it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes back. This is not how he dies.
Right. Well, clearly he can't die. I was like, what's such a random thing? And I was like, he's a squid monster. What is he? I was like, what is going on?
He's a very Cartoon Network design is what he is.
Yes.
Very Cartoon Network, like weird bulbous monster design.
Mm-hmm. I like it a lot.
I loved it. It's weird and gross. Yeah, he eventually dies by having Anakin Skywalker.
Spoilers, yeah. I don't know what happens yet.
You're not going to know this because it happens in a comic.
Oh, okay.
Anakin like force push him out like an airlock into like a star.
Oh.
And that eventually kills him.
So dramatic.
It's so fucking dramatic. Everything in Legends Clone Wars is so fucking dramatic all the goddamn time.
I love it.
All right. Up at the space battle above, Anakin is leading his various battalions, which I like that he calls several different battalions in this. It's very clear he's commanding the entire assault. There's a beautiful like one shot where he's like dogfighting with a couple of the separatist ships, like on like the surface of one of the larger ships.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool, and I like that. One shots like just make me hard in general. The longer you go without cutting the camera, the happier I personally will be. They do get called out at one point that quote, "We lost gold leader," end quote. So rip Bradley.
Wow.
Sorry, you died.
Darn.
Because you come first in the host thing. So I listened to that. I was like, bye, Bradley.
So canonically I'm dead, or in Legends I'm dead now.
At Legends your clone iteration died.
Gotcha.
Yes, there is the presence of a gold squadron here.
Oh, I love that.
We do love that. I have to point out every time Gold Squadron comes up because it's in the name. So the droid that's in Anakin's ship is R4.
Right.
And not R2.
Which I don't like.
And I'm gonna note too later a weird thing with R2, but my question here is, why is this R4 and not R2? And I have a theory about this. It's twofold. One, the droid has to get blown up later. Okay. And the Clone Wars hadn't happened, which was established that we could blow up R2-D2 and put him back together and he would be fine.
Right.
And two, episode 3 hadn't happened yet. And episode 3 is the one where Anakin and R2 are like besties.
Right.
That had not happened, so they did not know.
So that didn't happen until episode 3. That
didn't happen until episode 3, so they didn't know.
Interesting, because I remember I don't know if it's in Attack of the Clones or if it's in Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan has R4. So that's his droid in his ship, because his ship is red and then Anakin's is blue. So
yeah, it's R4, I think.
Yeah.
So R4 is here for some reason.
I don't know if I like that. Plus, the color doesn't match the ship. That's why I like the other movie, because like in the movie, Obi-Wan, his ship is red and white, so his droid is red and white, and then Anakin's is red and blue, so he has R2. Like, it makes sense. Like, just color theory.
Yeah, I will bring this up in a later. Actually, I have just thought of the thing Charles forgot to research. And I will not say it yet. Listeners will have to tune in next week, or in 4 days, or in 2 weeks, whatever we decide to release these, to figure out why Charles just realized R2 is not with Anakin. But yes, R4 is here for some reason.
Okay.
Anakin flies in through the ship, through the hangar with the missiles. It's a pretty nice reference to episode 1. I like that there was a little nod to episode 1 here, especially because of the flack episode 1 was getting at the time. Episode 2, I mentioned on our first episode that someday we'll delve into my problems with Attack of the Clones. My biggest one is I felt like a lot of Attack of the Clones was a pivot as a result of episode 1 getting the flack that it did. And so they pivoted a lot of things. Like Jar Jar's role is suddenly really reduced now, and we've aged up Anakin and all this other stuff. I mean, they might have been planning to age up Anakin, but like there's a Jango Fett here who's like a Boba Fett, and it is nice to see something from episode 1 that's kind of referenced here, given what was happening at the time, because there was a lot of vitriol, like even in mainstream presses, people really came after episode 1.
So this came after episode 2, correct?
Yes, this is directly after episode 2. They have not done 3 yet. Okay,
cool. Because I'm trying to keep it like in my head, like when it came out, because I noted in this, for some reason, I just noted that I noticed Anakin's gold hand in this one versus the other episodes.
Yes.
Which is my favorite thing that they've ever done in Star Wars is Anakin's gold hand. I don't know why, I just love it.
So they will actually address this in Volume 2. Volume 2 will transition us from this to, from Volume 1 to Revenge of the Sith. And I won't spoil, but Volume 2 is very special to me for a lot of reasons.
Okay, cool. I mean, I like Anakin with his short hair and his gold hand. That's literally like, I don't know why, just design-wise. I think it's because when I was at that prime age, you know, is when Attack of the Clones came out. And that's the Anakin that I know in my brain as Anakin. And I'm 8 years old or almost 8 years old. And I'm watching this super hot fucking, Hayden Christensen. I didn't even know at the time that I was in love with him, but I was, so it's kind of one of those things. Like,
I spent a lot of time at 12 years old thinking about Hayden Christensen and not realizing why I was spending a lot of time thinking about Hayden Christensen.
Now we know.
Now we know. It's literally in the name of the show. Asajj Ventress shows up in her, well, we don't know it's her, but it's obviously her.
Right.
Shows up in her ship. And I like that as they're rushing at each other in the final climactic sequence, he has blue lasers and she has red. I just thought that was a nice touch.
Isn't it the opposite in the movies?
No. It's
so that guy's always had red
colors. Yeah.
Blasters.
Yeah,
so TIE fighters have.
Yeah. In the movies, the TIE fighters have green.
Right. And then the rebels have red. That's such a weird thing to think about.
It's such a weird thing. We don't ever see, I think, Asajj Ventress really do a lot of piloting in the 2008 Clone Wars series. But this establishes she's a really good pilot, at least in Legend. And then, and then that's where it ends. And that was a cliffhanger that we ended on for 4 months.
4 months?
Holy
months. Shit. I'm so glad Disney Plus has it all in one big hour-long chunk, because otherwise...
Which, to a kid, was an eternity.
Yeah, of course. Especially for a 2-minute cartoon.
Oh, yeah, an eternity. This ended on November 20th, 2003. This ended on my 13th birthday.
Wow.
That was when the final episode of this aired. And it picked back up March 26th, 2004. So December, January, February, March. Yeah.
So technically what we're at the end of this episode. So we're at the end of chapter 10. That's technically season 1.
Correct. So that was season 1, and then season 2 is the next 10 episodes, the back half of volume 1.
Gotcha.
Do you want to hear about some voice actors?
Yes. Give me the voice actor.
So I've picked 2 for you.
Okay.
Count Dooku and Sam Hill, who is the head of the Sandhills. Sorry.
I was
corrected it to Sam.
Okay.
Are voiced by the same gentleman.
Okay.
They are voiced by Corey Burton, otherwise known as the voice of Count Dooku in the Clone Wars 2008 show, and also half of the other fucking voices in that show.
Good for
it's Corey Burton and D. Bradley Baker. You can toss a coin.
Right. Who is
toss
it?
a coin and be like, it's either Corey Burton or D. Bradley Baker.
I love it.
Asajj Ventress. Now there is a deep cut to Goldsquadrongays lore, because way back a long time ago, I thought that Asajj Ventress was voiced by Grey DeLisle Griffin, and I was wrong. It was Nina Futterman.
Okay.
Who was the voice of her in the 2008 Clone Wars series.
Got it.
But the reason I thought that Grey DeLisle Griffin, she is sometimes Grey DeLisle, she's sometimes Grey Griffin, she's sometimes Grey DeLisle Griffin. She's credited a bunch of different ways. I'm just going to call her Grey Griffin. Grey Griffin is the voice of Asajj Ventress here.
Okay.
She's also the voice of Padme Amidala.
Oh my god.
And she is the voice of Shakti.
Oh my god. Okay.
So she voiced basically every female character in seasons 1 and 2 of this. She is most known for being the voice of Azula, and Legend of Vox Machina fans will know her as the voice of Lady Briarwood.
I literally just watched that episode today. I was just about to say that because I texted my friend because he was like, you have to finish Vox Machina. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So I'm on chapter 5 now. But that lady, that character spoke, and I was like, that's Azula from...
That is Azula. That is also Asajj Ventress in the 2008 Clone Wars. Padme Amidala. She is...
That's one of my favorite voices.
She's one of those people that, like, if you have seen an animated thing, she has been in it.
Right. I love that.
Yep. She's worked with Genndy Tartakovsky before on Samurai Jack. I'm just looking at her whole like filmography.
Does she do the new character? Does she do the new character in the last season of Samurai Jack? The female character?
I don't know.
Oh.
I do not know because I don't remember what that character's name was.
It's not on my tongue right now, so I can't think of it. But
yeah, she's been in literally everything.
Love that. That's
Yep.
awesome.
So she is our voice of Asajj Ventress and Padme and Shakti. Alrighty. Bradley, what did you think of chapters 6 through 10 of the original Clone Wars series?
So much cooler than the first half. It just, like I said, because Asajj Ventress is fucking amazing. So anything with her, give me more. I love it.
Asajj Ventress voiced by Azula.
Yeah, if you're gonna give me Asajj Ventress, give her Azula's voice. I think I'm all for that. That's my thing. Give her top billing. That's all I want.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I had really enjoyed the memory trip because I remember being blown away by the first 5 episodes.
Mhm.
But I think the 6 through 10, especially the Asajj Ventress ones, were ones that I really loved as a kid.
I do like that.
And I couldn't explain to you at the time why I was so obsessed with Asajj Ventress's whole aesthetic. But again, I can now. It's in the name of the show.
That's hilarious that you said that. Oh, by the way, before I forget, the Samurai Jack's character's name was Ashi, and it was voiced by Tara Strong. I just didn't want anybody to come for me because I forgot Tara Strong. Blessed be her name. You know,
Tara Strong is not in the show, as far as I can tell.
Unfortunately, that seems like a missed opportunity. But you know,
at least just glancing at
her credits
at the cast list.
Yeah, I was gonna say
for the
has
show.
Tara Strong done anything in Star Wars before?
That is an excellent thing to end on. Let's find out.
All right, maybe we'll tease that for next time. If she has, we'll find it and we'll let you guys know.
All right, yes. Charles will look that up in between recording episodes, and we will let you know if Tara Strong has ever done a Star Wars. Please don't at me about this. I promise you I will research it in the 5 minutes between episodes. You can at me about the war crimes, though. I do want to know. All right, Bradley, run the socials.
Thank you for listening to Goldsquadrongays.
Did Charles fuck something up?
Email us at goldsquadrongays@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at goldsquadgays, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at goldsquadrongays. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gays, where we post this podcast as well as exclusive video content.
Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gays.